All right, so we covered the kind of two biggest things about the new era of the WWE there. Let's talk about the, I don't want to say lesser important things, but I do believe that they kind of know their place on that.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about NXT. Um, this week's episode, they set the championship match for Takeover back to Brooklyn, which happens a couple days before the SummerSlam pay per view. We have the reigning champion Samoa Joe defending against Jansen sitting here doing it. Wish you could see it. The international sensation Shinsuke Nakamura.
Nakamura.
Now,
King of Strong Style.
I am a huge Nakamura fan. I had never seen anything from him until he got to the NXT. Then I did a little research, and this dude is just fantastic. If you watch Breaking Ground Reloaded, they were showing parts about the Sami Zayn Nakamura match from that, and they showed backstage Triple H is sitting there with a headset on watching Nakamura come out because they just shown a clip of him helping him develop his entrance, and he specifically said, not a bad thing when the crowd starts chanting "Holy shit" for an entrance.
Yeah.
Pardon my language, but
That's a quote.
yeah. And really, like, I just watched that episode of NXT this morning, and first thing, Nakamura is coming out for a wrestling match. Tingles up my spine, you know. It's such a freaky good entrance combination of him and that music and the lighting, and it's just insane.
It's very much like a shorter but like crowd captivating entrance, almost to the level of Balor.
Yeah.
I mean, Balor's entrance is really good as well, but Shinsuke is right there with him. And I gotta, hats off. I'm not wearing my hat right now, but hats off to Full Sail University and all of the stuff they do down in NXT, because all of those entrances are on point,
Yep.
phenomenal, and the music.
Is it CFO money or
Yeah,
CFO?
dollar sign. Yeah. Whoever it is that does that is amazing as well. I mean, just
Found out it's actually not like I figured it was gonna be that, like, it was some kind of like like a Timbaland or like a Jay-Z, like a rapper who had just like transitioned into the full on, I'm gonna do everything in the music industry and just rock at it. No, it's these two random dudes, and that's the name of their band is CFO, or CFO money. I mean,
Yeah.
but hats, like you said, hats off to them as well too, because a lot of their music has been on point.
I mean, Sammy to Kevin Owens to Finn
Nakamura,
Balor,
Balor, Joe.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, they
Ty
just
Dillinger.
Yeah.
I don't think people give him enough
10,
credit. Yeah,
10.
I love Tyler Dillinger.
Yeah.
AJ Styles. Just like some of the music they've done recently has just been so on point.
it captures the wrestler very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed. But yeah, set. We are going to get. I mean, that weekend's just gonna be awesome. Like, because the Joe Nakamura match and the other two main roster matches on SummerSlam.
Championship matches are going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm going to venture to guess that for the tag team championships, we're going to see New Day versus Club, and that's going to be a good one as well.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
So what are your thoughts? Does the King of Strong Style walk away with the title, or does it say with the Samoan Submission Machine?
Nobody's really been able to stop Nakamura.
True.
I mean,
But no one's really been able to stop Joe, short of the two times that Balor barely survived their encounter.
Yeah, but we're talking about the King of Strong Style.
True.
Yeah, he might be a submission machine, but I got to go with Shinsuke. He's just so good. I mean, obviously Joe is no nonsense, but I do love me some Nakamura.
I will actually agree. I will agree about the assessment as well too, but I believe Nakamura is going to go over, but that's because I believe that Joe is on his way.
Oh yeah.
I think he's going to go to SmackDown personally. I don't think that they'll want him and Balor on the same show because they don't want to keep repeating the same things in NXT that they on the main roster. So I think Joe will be on SmackDown, and I'd love to see me Joe versus Styles back when the other company, which we won't name them because we're only talking about WWE.
We are talking about NXTNA right now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Back when the other company was big, Joe and Styles pulled out some of the best matches you could possibly get. And don't get me wrong, I want to see. I've watched the Styles Nakamura matches from like Wrestle Kingdom. I want to see those happen as well too. But that's later on. Nakamura is going to be in NXT for a while. I already know he is. I'd like to see him come up when AJ is finally champion, and just AJ's coming out, and he cuts this heel promo, and then all of a sudden, down, and just Nakamura just comes out, and then it's just like,
yeah. I see Nakamura doing like one of those surprise things, or even a Rumble entry.
Yeah.
I mean, those are always special.
Agreed. Also on NXT, we got to see. I'm gonna skip one here for a second. Kota Ibushi from the Cruiserweight Classic actually made his NXT debut, adding fuel to the fire that he's been officially signed. He faced Buddy Murphy in a singles match. Murphy has split from Wesley Blake, which was Nakamura's opponent on the first match of the night. They're officially done, which I'll be nice, but let's say there's no love lost there from them breaking up.
Best part of that is on SmackDown. So
true, very true. Took me a second to think about what.
Talking about Alexa Bliss.
Yes. But Ibushi was very impressive. Not that I think Buddy Murphy and Wesley Blake are bad wrestlers by any means. I didn't like their gimmick as a tag team. I didn't like the way they worked together.
What gimmick?
Well, yeah, there you go. Well, it's like we're
gonna come out to strobe lights and crazy dubstep music, but we have no like rave sort of characters.
Yeah,
we're just weird.
I mean, Wesley Blake was like a cowboy-esque dude. I think his actual like catchphrase was "cowboy up" before he started teaming with Blake.
Yeah,
or before he teamed with Murphy there. It just tangent off to the side, but Ibushi and Murphy had a great match. Really showcased Ibushi, and he won with the sit out last ride.
Beautiful move.
Huh?
Beautiful move.
Yes. Especially coming from a cruiserweight.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one thing for back in the day when The Undertaker was hitting people at the last ride. I mean, you got this 6'10". I mean, The Undertaker's never been like a huge dude, but I mean, he was a big dude. He was strong, hitting this on guys. And now you're talking about 150, 190 pound guy hitting it on guys that are bigger than him.
Yeah.
Murphy had quite a substantial amount of size on him. I mean, Murphy's not a huge dude, but he had size on Ibushi. He probably gave up 50 pounds to him, and he's sitting there grabbing him, lift him up, power bomb, and you know it's impressive. We'll talk about it a little bit more in the Cruiserweight Classic, but yeah, he's gonna go far in WWE. I think there. The part that I skipped, speaking of the Asian wrestlers, as Kota Ibushi represents Japan, they aired a video for Hideo Itami to return, which is fantastic. A lot of people don't really know who Itami is so far because he kind of got injured real quick.
Yeah, I believe it was like a week or two into his NXT arrival, him and Balor came in at the same time.
Yep.
And Tommy has been out with a shoulder injury, or I believe, since that time.
He got a few big matches in, but nothing substantial yet.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, at this point in time, Hideo's kind of really hit a speed bump because you now have the likes of Shinsuke Nakamura, and if Kota Ibushi really is in NXT and is going to be making regular appearances. In terms of like Asian wrestlers on, on NXT, I mean, he might start to look a bit. It might start to be a bit of white noise. Unfortunately for for Itami, this is the guy that originated the GTS. And,
I was going to bring up that point.
I mean, like he deserves to be highlighted and should have more matches.
He deserves to be using his move in WWE.
Not hinting at it, which is all he's done up until this point. And the crowd loses their mind every time that he gets that person up on their shoulders because they know what's coming next. Those that know Itami. To that point, I believe Shinsuke wins the championship to set up maybe an Itami Nakamura. And I think that because of the history out in Japan with all of those those promotions, that there's some opportunity there for some really good wrestling down in NXT.
Agreed. There's no confirmation to this, but when Itami's injury came about, it had been nagging him for a while there, and they finally had no choice. The Beast in the East pay-per-view, or live special that was on the network, Itami was supposed to have Finn Balor's spot. It was supposed to be Itami versus Owens for the NXT title, and rumor was that Itami was walking out with the title that night in Japan. Made sense. Japan, home country. They wanted Itami on the main roster by now. They wanted him to again be in Finn Balor's spot. And you think about it, all the popularity that Finn has driven now, would Itami be at the same level that Finn would be, or Finn is now, had he not gotten injured?
I don't know. I mean, obviously it's one of those like, woulda, shoulda, coulda kind of things.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. And I guess we'll have to see how Itami / Kenta translates over to the wrestling community, on NXT. But you have such a unique character and charisma in Balor that I don't know that Balor wouldn't have stolen that spotlight anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the demon and the paint and everything else, and how he can captivate a crowd, which oddly enough we didn't see as much on Raw, which I think that it's only a matter of time.
They're saving the demon.
No, but like the entrance where he throws his hands up and the lights go up and stuff.
It seemed like the lights were a little bit not in sync like they should have been.
I mean, I think that Balor's such a good character, and I think that that's what I think that maybe if it was Nakamura at the time, I think Nakamura would have stolen Balor's spot, but I don't know that Itami has it in him yet.
Gotcha.
Again, we got to see where Itami's character comes through, and I guess we'll find out, if he starts to show up on NXT.
I believe he is set to return next week. The episodes, of course, have already been taped, but that's no reason to not watch it. That is for sure. Speaking of next week, I've been waiting for this one a long time. In my opinion, the last truly great not NXT, other company homegrown talent, Bobby Roode, will finally make his first television appearance on NXT next week.
On NXT NA, yep.
Exactly. I ain't complaining. They're getting the good ones.
I mean, you got to call it what it is, man. I mean, we've got Samoa Joe as the NXT champion. We have Bobby Roode, and then we already have Austin Aries in there, and what's his name?
You're thinking of Eric Young?
Yeah, Eric Young made an appearance, and Beer Money showed up. A number of months ago.
Yeah. But he went back.
Which
I was sad.
Yeah. So,
sometimes they can't. That's the thing. They can't agree on contracts and whatnot. So.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, to me, Bobby Roode was the last reason that I watched that other program. Anyways, remember how we were talking before we started recording? When Drew Galloway was their champion, I was watching. Well, he was still on those episodes. It was still worth watching. In fact, I think Beer Money Inc. had actually won the tag team championships over there again. He, like I said, I'm super sad that Storm did not end up sticking around. Maybe it was a money thing. Maybe it was a scheduling thing. Maybe it was just a ploy. Maybe, hey, here's what we want. We want Beer Money Inc. You need to go convince Bobby Roode to come here because his contract's about to expire.
I think Storm will end up in NXT or in WWE at some point in time. I mean, he's
just maybe wasn't the right time.
Just maybe it wasn't the right time. Things kind of bouncing back and forth. I mean, just as a side tangent to talk about TNA for a minute, I will mention them. I don't care. AJ mentioned it on Stone Cold's podcast, so I can surely mention it. That show is nigh unwatchable.
Agreed.
I watched the Final Deletion episode with Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy, and it was just so bad,
insane.
and it's just so off.
I tried to watch the whole episode of Impact that had the Final Deletion on there, and I couldn't make it through the first 15 minutes of the show.
No,
at that point I didn't even want to fast forward to watch the end of the actual match itself.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that it's only a matter of time for that. I think that, again, this will be another conversation for another day, talking about other promotions, to get into that, because there is some very, very good wrestling out there, with Lucha Underground and Ring of Honor, and, even to an extent, there are some people on TNA that do deserve some spotlights.
Better spotlight than they're getting.
But, they're just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Tangent, did you see that Lucha Underground, since we're talking about other promotions for the moment, I swore I wouldn't talk about them, but for the moment.
I have love for Lucha Underground.
Lucha Underground Season 3 is set to air in September, but it's already well done taping. Prince Puma, who was, I believe, their first ever Lucha champion, better known in the independent scene as Ricochet, has apparently started signing papers for WWE.
Let me just tell everybody that is willing to listen to this 5-hour-long podcast that we've been recording. If you get an opportunity to see Ricochet, if you liked wrestling at any point in time in your life, watch this man. He is by far my absolute most favorite wrestler at this point in time across any promotion. He is so good.
That's big words.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking high-flying, power, everything. As well-rounded as you can get. I mean, there's some other people in the wrestling community that might not agree with me on it, but he's my favorite.
Well, other people in the wrestling community, I mean, they're going to have their favorites.
Oh, yeah.
If you're talking about wrestlers themselves, I mean, they're obviously going to be like, oh, I'm the most well-rounded person, whether they are or not. I mean, sometimes you have to have that little bit of ego to it, but no, I understand what you're saying on it, and I definitely get it. My exposure to Lucha Underground has only been season 2. Well, actually, the first 6 episodes of season 2. I didn't watch the entire thing. There were other reasons. I stopped being able to get a hold of it because the person who was giving them to me, unfortunately, is no longer here. But I could go find it, and I do plan on it. I think I'm going to sit on it, wait till the end of season 3, and maybe just binge watch it.
Yeah, I mean, again, side tangent, but it was just, it's a good thing. And again, I mean, maybe another topic for another day to kind of get into some of the.
I do like the fact that they have Johnny Mundo, or John Morrison, Johnny Nitro, whatever you want to call him.
Whatever you want to call him, but he's.
Just call him talented.
Yes.
That's what he is.
Yes.
So, but yeah. So, side tangents aside, Bobby Roode makes his debut next week, and spoiler alert, it will be glorious. Final thing about NXT, this week they started continuing the No Way Jose Austin Aries feud.
Jose, no way, Jose, no.
I'll see if maybe I can cue that up while we're talking about this section for you. But a couple weeks ago, Aries was complaining that people weren't serious, and he specifically singled out No Way Jose, and then they started having a fiesta in the ring and whatnot, and it looked like everything was going to be all joyous and whatnot, and then Aries turned full heel by clocking No Way Jose in the head with a rolling elbow, and now it looks like they're on the fast track to a feud.
Jose had it coming just for the fact that his name is No Way Jose. You were in the ring with the greatest man who ever lived. Okay, you don't dance around. Okay, this is Austin Aries we were talking about.
But Austin Aries, probably the most entertaining dancer out of those two.
It's true.
That is for sure.
Again,
greatest man
that ever lived.
Yes. I will say, I like Jose. Love Aries. Funny thing, I actually hated Aries when he was first in the other company, when he was the Austin Star. Horrible gimmick.
Absolutely horrible gimmick.
Horrible gimmick. But when he returned to said company, and he actually managed to win their top championship, and he just became the moniker greatest man who ever lived. He was personifying that because he did things that no one else would. He was the first one to opt for, what do they call it? It's similar to their idea of cashing in a Money in the Bank briefcase.
The X Division opportunity.
Yeah. I think they have have an actual term for it.
Yeah.
Like option C or something like that.
Yeah.
He was the first one to do that. He won their world title. He was a great world champion, even with that big, dumb, ugly looking belt that they have. Take note, WWE. As long as you don't make the Universal title like that, I probably won't be too much of a problem. We were talking about the possibility of an ugly belt earlier. Just don't do that. But Aries really hasn't had an opportunity to establish himself in NXT, but I'm not so sure that's not on purpose. The greatest man who ever lived is in NXT. He is, in terms of a wrestling, fan, he is kind of a household name. So, does he need to be thrust into the title picture right away? I don't think so. I think for right now, I think he's happy. His character's obviously not, but I think he's happy with his position. I think he's taking, his first match against Corbin. I have issues and I go back and forth with Corbin, but he made Corbin look pretty darn good in that match. Corbin still lost. Aries got the win. But he made Corbin look real good in that match. Nakamura, he had another big match with Nakamura. Now, Nakamura needs no help looking good, but that match was awesome. And he helped that. And now he's in this feud with No Way Jose, who's still relatively unknown, kind of coming up, still trying to feel himself, his character, get him into the spotlight. Everyone, he's got the fandangoing syndrome going on with the music. There was jokes all over the IWC. Do you think whenever someone walks up to Mr. McMahon in the backstage area and they ask him a question, he just pulls out his phone and just starts playing the No Way Jose music and starts strutting down the hallway or something? Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if he did. But so this is an opportunity to make both look good, especially when it comes to Jose. So I kind of like where they're going with this, and it'll be interesting to see how they play out the feud up to Brooklyn, because I'm sure that's when they're going to fight.
Yeah.
But I am a fan of Jose. I can't even remember who he faced on NXT, but we saw his fun-loving persona when he came out, but the person... Steve Cutler, because I remember Veronica specifically asked me, who's this jabroni that he's facing? Because he had most generic look and most generic entrance and whatnot. He came out after Jose did. At one point, he kind of disrespected Jose during the match. And, Jose as his character... flipped a switch, and all of a sudden now he's crazy, Jose, and like his eyes got all wide, like very anime-ish looking eyes, and he just went to town on him, hit him with that. I don't know if he's just gonna call it the baseball punch or whatever, where he like winds up like he's throwing a baseball and hits him with the fist, and then hit again. They need to get on this. They need to develop a name for his move. It's a short arm pull into a Cobra Clutch Slam, which is unique. It's a unique setup. The Cobra Clutch Slam, I believe, would probably be most famous from Ted DiBiase Jr. using it as Dream Street, but much different setup for it. So I don't know, but they do need to get on the shtick. If they're going to use Aries to enhance him, they need to get on it.
Yeah.
In Cruiserweight Classic news, which airs right after the NXT program on the WWE Network, we have Week 3 results for you guys, because we know you care.
You should.
Indeed. Like Chanson was saying, if you ever get a chance to watch Ricochet, do so. Same thing. If you ever get a chance to peep out the Cruiserweight Classic so far on WWE Network, please do so. And then you can just call up the reality check and thank us later.
Yeah.
So for this week, we had 4 matches again. We're still in the first round. This week and next week are the last of the first round matches. My overall favorite to win, Zack Sabre Jr. went over Tyson Dukes via his Ode to Breaks armbar finisher. It's kind of weird looking. It's not a really good way to describe it without using super technical terms that I don't think anyone currently listening to this would probably know. I'll try. He started in an omoplata, which transitioned into like an arm bar, like a reverse inverted arm bar, and then was like wrenching Tyson's wrist at the same time. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm going to go JBL with this. I'm just going to say that he bent the man in half. Okay. He just took the guy's arm and almost just, it looked like he was going to snap it out of its socket.
Yeah.
Zack Sabre Jr. is probably the most fluid and
so smooth,
best technically sound wrestler I think I might have ever seen.
Probably.
He is so good. They were saying throughout the show that he is this master of escapology, and he definitely showed that. Almost every move that Tyson Dukes put on him, he found a way out of, and in the slickest ways possible.
Yep. And that's not to put anything down on Tyson Dukes, because he was very impressive in the match as well too. It's just I believe Sabre is going to win it all, and unfortunately, the way the matches fell, that's what was happening to him. But you never know. Might not see the last of him. Kind of hope so. Drew Gulak went over Harv Sira from the Bollywood Boys via a wicked Dragon Sleeper. Nothing too fancy in that match. Very solid. I stand by the fact that I want to see the Bollywood Boys in WWE as a permanent fixture.
I think that just from seeing Harv Sira in the way that he wrestled in that match, kind of intrigued me to see
how
them.
Curve does and how they groove together.
Yeah, they were definitely good. I wasn't overly impressed with Gulak in that match. That Dragon Sleeper was wicked. A Dragon Sleeper is basically almost like a reverse DDT, where the person's face is in the person applying the move's armpit, and then you pull back, but he added more to it because he pulled him to the ground and then grapevined their stomach. It was crazy.
Lots of pressure, basically. Next match had Tony Nese go over Anthony Bennett via a 450 splash. Not a bad match by any means. Some sloppy points, in my opinion, between both competitors. I wasn't overly impressed with Anthony Bennett.
No, me either.
Tony Nese has a great look to him. He's ripped. He's a big guy. He's probably one of the biggest guys in the Cruiserweight Classic. For him to get up on the top rope and do, and he you heard the smack of the mat when he came down with that 450 splash. There was right before that. I can't remember if he hit him with a slam or what it was. It's escaping me right now.
It was almost like a pump handle kind of slam, but
pump handle power slam.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Thank you. Yeah, the ref had to Nice went up to the top rope, planning to hit the 450. While the ref stopped him and had to check on Bennett, make sure Bennett was even alive. I guess at that point. Obviously a non-scripted part where he basically just had to get down and say, "Hey, you okay? You kind of look off." But wicked 450, and great finish to the match at least. And then we also, final match of the night was the Brian Kendrick, returning WWE superstar, go over Raul Mendoza via the bully choke. I tried to find some information about this. The bully choke is not a move in Kendrick's repertoire, at least according to the Wikipedia page. Maybe it's something new that they just decided to name at that point. Or
well, a lot of the commentary coming from Daniel Bryan was alluding to the fact that might have been a move that Shawn Michaels was using at one point in time.
Okay.
Because Shawn Michaels trained both Kendrick and Daniel Bryan.
True.
And in that match, if you watch the Cruiserweight Classic, Daniel Bryan is very biased on commentary.
He even says so.
He wanted the Brian Kendrick to win that match. I, however, wanted Raul Mendoza because I love me some Lucha, and he was phenomenal in that match. He highlighted his ability great.
Especially he went coast to coast. For those of you who don't know what coast to coast means, that means in this case he hung Brian Kendrick up in the Trio Woe, which means they're hooked upside down in the turnbuckle, and he went to the other side of the ring and jumped across the entire length of the ring to drop kick Brian Kendrick in the face.
Yeah.
Shane McMahon and Rob Van Dam are probably the most famous for doing those kind of moves. But it was super impressive. It was a really good match. I'm gonna have to disagree. I was glad Brian Kendrick won, just because I am a Brian Kendrick fan from back in the day.
I am too. It's just I did like to see Mendoza, and I think that he, his moveset and his high flying abilities, really, shined in that match.
Gotcha. But that's your week 3 results. For next week on week 4, Jack Gallagher is going to face Fabian Aichner from, I believe, Italy. Rich Swann, who's been in NXT a few times, will face off against Jason Lee. Noam Dar will face off against the other half of the Bollywood Boys, Gurv Sira. And then in probably one of the most anticipated matches of the entire Cruiserweight Classic, they stuck NXT Tag Team Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano against each other in the first round. So we'll see that. That'll be the main event of next week's show there. Gonna have to root for Johnny Wrestling. As we've said it before, Northeast Ohio represent, and he is from Cleveland. So I would definitely am looking forward to seeing that match. I do know who wins, but I won't spoil it for anyone. So Jansen, before we stop talking about the Cruiserweight Classic, what are your overall thoughts beyond Week 3, which we obviously discussed in length here? What are your overall thoughts about the tournament, and who do you see winning the whole thing?
Obviously, some great talent we've already seen so far in the first round. I mean, some people that, highlighted their abilities very well and should potentially somewhere down the road find a contract to get into NXT or WWE or somewhere. With that being said, though, I mean, there's a few people that, in my opinion, have shined. Zack Sabre, like we mentioned at the onset of this segment, just so good technically. Maybe not the most entertaining for maybe a casual. He's not high flying. He's not all over the place. He's not going to be, have those moves that make you kind of go, oh, But the fact that he's able to move and use people's momentum against them and everything else is really good. Kota Ibushi, again, he went on NXT this past week. Again, really, really good. The person that, in my opinion, though, so far has really shined is TJ Perkins. I believe he's out of the Philippines. I think that's what he said.
That's who he's representing. Yeah, I think he was born here, but
yeah, but he's representing the Philippines. But just so good. He was dabbing all over Damac, which Rob was not thrilled with. But
I just think the dab is stupid.
Oh,
I
me
thought
too.
it was entertaining that he was dancing.
Me too. But he just had an air about him, very good charisma there. But it is good to see some of the older fan favorites like Tajiri and Brian Kendrick making their faces seen in this tournament. With that being said, I think it'll probably come down to Sabre and probably Ibushi. Those two are the odds-on favorites right now to win it all. I would like to see Perkins go far. I would like to see him in the finals. Don't necessarily know if that's going to be the case. But I mean, at this point in time, again, same thing as the championship matches for SummerSlam. I think that whatever it's going to be, there's no losers. You're going to see some good wrestling throughout this entire classic.
Awesome. Last thing I want to talk to you guys about today, the WWE 2K17 video game. They announced this past week via Twitter. I believe it was Stephanie McMahon who did it. All three McMahons, Stephanie, Shane, and Vince, will be playable in the game. And with that announcement, the IGN roster reveal kickoff will happen this coming Tuesday, and they will do it in 5 installments leading up to the end of the beginning part of September there, I guess that would put it, right before the Backlash pay-per-view, revealing the entire roster of the game. So some of the, if you're a gamer like me, and Jansen as well too, and you want to know, hey, is AJ Styles going to finally be in the game? Can I stop making him for the first time ever? Those questions will finally be answered. We will have, because I am super nerdy, we will have full coverage of the roster reveals on the Facebook page, which brings us to the end of today's show. Don't forget to like us on Facebook if you haven't already, because chances are that's probably how you found this video anyways. Jansen, do you have anything, any last words you'd like to say to the people listening right now?
I don't know.
I caught Jansen unprepared for the final segment there, which is what I wanted to do. Do you have any type of social media that you want people to follow you at or anything like that?
Just follow the Reality Check Facebook page. We'll be posting things periodically. Try to keep you up to date on all of the news that's out there.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm Rob.
And I'm Jansen.
Thanks for listening to the Reality Check. You guys take care.